Hey everybody, we're changing it up just a little bit here today. Welcome to an illuminating episode of the Drywall Podcast. I am once again your host, Nick Harmon. So grateful I got the opportunity to speak with Steph Abbott of Teek Interiors. We had a focused discussion about the trade, her experience finding recovery, and that one time she brought her daughter Tegan to work.
It was a lot. Like being a parent, as parents know, that alone is a full-time job. Like they take a lot of your time and energy. So to balance it, I would just bring her to work with me. Most of the time, I would pass it by the homeowners, and most of the time they loved having her out there, just a little kid bebopping around. And then that's when I started getting Tegan to spot screws for me.
I'm really inspired by Steph having the courage to come on to the Drywall Podcast and open up the way she did. It's a very candid conversation. Her message is powerful, and I hope that you find some inspiration in her message as well. The Drywall Podcast is brought to you in the month of October from our friends up north at CSR Building Supply. CSR supplying the drywall community for years now, with a new location in Barrie, Ontario, and just about everything for drywall you could think of online, including Fresco Harmony. Interested in being on the Drywall Podcast, or maybe you know somebody that you think would be an awesome interview, I'd love to hear from them. Or you can contact me directly at info@frescoharmony.com and we'll get it going. But for now, Steph Abbott on the 68th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. I need to get one of those Teek hats. Those are sweet. I like your logo.
Thank you. Yeah, you're on the list. I'm getting some made right now, and I'm going to fire one in the mail to you.
Nice. We'll wear it on the show. Give you some props. Look at I got a little hat collection here. See if I can turn it all the way.
Ooh, nice.
Not bad. Yeah.
It's growing. You almost need one of those hat racks.
I know, I do. I should do a little shelf. It's kind of fun to have.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice to represent.
Yeah, it's good to help each other in the trade.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. You seem pretty young. How old are we talking here, if you don't mind?
I'm 33.
You're young. 33, and you've got two kiddos. I just found out. Twins. How crazy is that?
Yeah. I have twin 2-year-olds, and then I also have an 11-year-old daughter.
Okay, so you got three altogether.
Yeah. It's a boy and a girl, Elle and Crew.
Oh, nice. Oh, she was probably your 11-year-old was probably so excited. Oh
yeah, she's such a good big sister. She always asked me for a sibling. Lucky me, got a 2-for-1 deal. But she's so helpful. Like I honestly couldn't imagine doing it without her. She's a phenomenal help.
Awesome. And what's her name?
Tegan.
Shout out to Tegan. Very cool. Steph Abbott. Is your full name Stephanie?
Yeah.
But you go by Steph.
Yeah.
Okay. Teek Interiors. How did you come up with the name Teek? What's that all about?
So I took the first initial of my 3 kids, so Tegan, Elle, and Crew, and I didn't really love tech, so I just added another E to make Teek.
Okay. I was thinking like maybe she likes teak, but I don't think that's like teak wood, but I don't think that's spelled the same. Teak. Yeah. Very cool. So what are we going to talk about today? I've been excited about this for a little bit. You kind of, when you found out about me, I think, was it Wolfgang did Wolfgang clue you in, or Wolfgang told me I should talk to you? I think that's how it started for me.
Yeah, Wolfgang messaged me and said you should really connect with Nick. I think it would be really good for you. And I hesitated. I'm like, I don't know, but I
Yeah.
had met Sean from Big Dog Drywall prior,
Oh,
and
really?
he's like, here's my podcast, check it out. And so that's how
Okay.
I first discovered you.
That guy's a character. Big
Yeah,
dog.
he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's from Red Deer
Oh, okay.
originally.
I think that was in the podcast. Did you listen to the podcast with me and him?
Yeah,
Yeah, we blab about it. He's something. I was like, yeah,
yeah.
drywall is derelicts. He's like, what are you talking about? um, cool. And then you've been getting excited. You've like done like a little deep dive into some of the episodes and stuff. Which ones have you listened to so far?
I listened to your one with Wolfgang. I thought that one was awesome. And
Oh
then
yeah.
all your Columbia Tool ones were really good. And I
Yeah.
think by far my favorite though was the Christy Slade part one, the first one that you did.
Okay.
That one, I was sanding while I was listening to it, and man, I grabbed a gear while I was doing it. I was like, this girl is so inspiring. Like, I had to
Yeah.
message her after, and I was just like, you are amazing.
Oh wow, that's interesting. That one doesn't occur to me. It's an early one too, I think, right? It's like,
Yeah, she was transitioning into her new position.
yeah, yeah. Okay, very well, very well. Well, there's a bunch of good ones. Different it's interesting to me because different people like different things, different shows.
Yeah.
Even my interpretation of shows varies from what maybe the listener their interpretation of the shows. So it's always good to
Oh, for
hear.
sure.
It's always good to hear the feedback. I like it, and thank you so much for listening and
Yeah.
checking it out. Yeah. How did you meet Sean? Because Sean's been talking about you too. We were following you along a little bit when I was just in Illinois, and we were talking about Teek Interiors and all of this. And Sean's like, wants to get you on Brawley's dad's podcast, which you should definitely do as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I plan
Yeah.
on it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome, a fellow
Uh-huh.
Canadian.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't even remember how we started talking, but now we're talking almost every day. I think I commented on one of his stories, like, I think he's just a character. He's
Oh yeah.
hilarious. And then he told me about his podcast and asked me to be on it, kind of thing. And we both have collabed with Tool Pro, so we kind of have, and Columbia, so we have connections through companies, and then yeah, just friendships blossom pretty easily over
Yeah.
social media.
It's so cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool getting to meet you guys one on one. And always a pleasure to get the women in the trade on the show because there's not a ton of you out there. At least there's probably a lot more than I know, but like finding, picking these diamonds out of the rough is challenging. Whereas men, there's a lot more to choose from, for me to interview.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The women definitely stand out to me for sure. I find it so inspiring seeing them out there killing it. Like I
Yeah.
absolutely love seeing it and supporting them. And I feel like there's more and more coming out of the woodworks every day. And I'm
Yeah.
just loving it. I'm here for
Yeah.
it for sure.
Yeah. You're kind of new to me. How long have you been doing the social media stuff?
Well, I started on TikTok last year. I got heavy into it. And like if you post on social media, it's kind of a full-time job in itself, like at
Yeah.
least a part-time job.
Oh
And then
yeah.
Christy Slade, she found me on TikTok and then she messaged me and she's like, you should really start posting on Instagram. And I hummed and hawed over it and I put a couple posts into it, not a lot of effort, but over the last 2 months here, I was like, you know what? What do you got to lose? So I just started pumping out the videos and it seems to be going pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. You've grown your following fairly quickly and you post so regular. That's fantastic. Have you connected with any, and kudos to Christy for like, that's just the way she is, man. She'll reach out to like one of the girlfriends on the social media in the trades and be like, hey man, and do whatever she can to help you guys grow as a community as well. She's just cool like that.
Yeah, it wants the best for everyone. I
Hmm.
absolutely love that about her. I probably wouldn't have started really committing to it if she wouldn't have lit a fire under my butt.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. 33. So let's get into it a little bit. How in the world, why drywall? There's so many questions. What are you, first generation?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, my dad, he's a farmer, and my mom, she is as well. She ran the farm as well. My dad was also a GM out at a plant out by Red Deer, but my uncle, he has a drywall company, and I messaged him one day. I was like, "Do you have a broom I could push or something?" Like,
well, it must have been
oh,
oh
okay,
no,
wait.
oh no.
Oh, sorry. I graduated in 2008, so I started in 2009. That works a little better.
I'm a stickler about time frames. Well,
There you
and
go.
also for the listener. So time frame is like just something I do, and I think it's important to our listeners that that because I want to establish where you came from and how old you are at certain times, because maybe we'll be inspiring other uh girls, women that are graduating high school that might want to jump into the trade or something. 33 is
Yeah.
different than 17 or 18, that's for sure.
Yeah, for
um
sure.
Okay, so 2009, you're
Yeah.
graduating high school. Back to the story. Sorry.
Yeah, so in 2008, I graduated and I was working in an old folks home. And it was in a town not far from where I grew up, just a small town. And I was like, hey, there's got to be like a different path I can transition to here. So that's when I messaged my uncle. And so 2009, I started with ATEC Drywall, and he started me doing fire taping above grid, ceiling grid. And he came
Yeah.
walk by me one day, and he saw my work, and he's like, hey, you got to get on the walls. And then that's
Were you
when,
using a banjo? Did he give you a banjo to fire tape? No.
no, I was
What?
just my little pan and knife, like
Did he give you some pointers?
I think the drywallers did, yeah, and my foreman at the time.
And that was your uncle's company, ATEC Drywall?
Yeah, out of Red Deer.
Okay, so you had drywall in the family a little bit.
Yeah, my uncle.
Okay, all right. Out of Red Deer, ATEC Drywall. He gave you a shot. How big was his company?
He's still big. He's kind
Okay,
of moved away from the Red Deer area and transitioned into a more Calgary. It's a bigger scene, higher pace.
okay. All right. All right. Fair
Yeah, so
enough.
I did that, and then from
Wait,
there,
he was coming and he was watching you fire tape around the stuff, and he must have seen some value in you. He was like, "Hey, we got to get this girl on the wall, man. She's too good for this remedial drywall work."
well, most of the guys from my memory were just so they were taking the tape with the mud and putting it in a bucket and then putting the tape on the walls with their hands. And I
Yeah.
refuse to do that. I don't like it on my hands or my clothes, like at all. And you can see that in my videos that I like to
I
stay
don't
pretty
either.
clean.
I don't
Yeah,
either.
no,
Two
no.
days,
So
2 days in Illinois working with black colored mud. Not a drop on me.
good job. I love that. See, it can be done.
It can be done. It can be
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Sean, on the other hand, very messy.
yeah. There's a few of them that are pretty messy out there.
So you're using what we call a slop box or a slop bucket, right?
Yeah.
And these dudes are like doing it into the slop box, and you're like, I don't want to do it that way.
Mm-mm. No. No,
No.
I just used my pan and knife. I was using a 6 inch at that time. And well, all sizes, right? You're up there in the pipes and different depths of drywall between the pipes. So just trying to keep it super clean and tight. And yeah, he came by, he was pretty happy. And then I was super intimidated to start with the hawk and trowel because like when I started that, I was covered,
Yeah, me
absolutely
too.
covered. It was hard at first. Like that stuff
Yep.
was flying everywhere at your face and your hair.
Why did you change from a pan and knife to a hawk and trowel, though?
Um, well, for to start off, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was so new. So
Yeah,
only had like the 6 inch to start, which isn't
yeah,
going to get very far on the walls.
right.
And then when my uncle told me to go get that um, load of tools, he told me to get a hawk and trowel.
Okay,
And then that's why I started using it.
okay. All right. So your uncle was like, get a hawk and trowel. You need to learn the hawk and trowel.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And
I'm glad he did.
yes, I run into a lot of people because I'm promoting the Fresco Harmony, so I run into a lot of people that are always asking, well, because I use a hawk and trowel when I'm spreading mud, even in
Yeah.
texturing or whatever, you're spreading mud on the wall. Can you use a pan and knife? And I'm always like, yeah, sure, of course you can use a pan and knife. I just think the hawk and trowel is faster. That said, they were using a hawk and trowel when I started doing that particular texture in Colorado. And same thing, it was messy. It was very challenging, but you just kind of have to wrangle through it. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and that transition is interesting to me because you can still use a pan and knife, correct? You don't use a pan and knife for like corner bead or anything?
No, I trowel all my corner bead,
Okay.
except for like if I'm using no coat, I'll use a knife. It depends what I'm doing. Like sometimes like even if there's a awkward butt joint that's 5, 6 inches away from the wall, like I'm not gonna stutter my trowel across the wall. I rather just grab a knife and just do it in one fluid motion.
Well, your trowel work from what I've seen is very good.
Thank you.
Like, not that I'm like the end all beat all on, but I watch different people's techniques on social media, and people that are good to me are very fun to watch. I like watching good finishers work.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that. I do
Mhm.
feel like it's kind of a dying art, the whole hawk and trowel, now that you have the option of automatic tools like boxes. Like they're so much
Sure.
easier, but it's definitely an art to do troweling.
Yeah. I haven't seen you run a lot of boxes yet.
No, no, that's a future goal. Eventually I'll get into it, but like for me, my trowel's kind of like I'm Inspector Gadget. It's part of my arm, you know?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be weird when I do transition out of it, but there'll always be times that I use my trowel.
Yeah. They're fun too. Okay, so you're still working for ATEC Drywall at this point. How long were you with ATEC for?
I was with ATEC 3 years, and then I went and had Tegan. And then after I had Tegan, she was 8 months old, and I was right back on the site. Like it was like extremely fast to get back into it. I remember pumping in a porta potty at one point.
Shut the fuck
Yeah, not the most sanitary, but I had no choice. Like I'm not just gonna go into one of the rooms when there's a bunch of different trades, so I just did it in the porta
No,
potty.
you don't want to be breast pumping around drywall dudes.
No.
They'll give you some shit over that for sure.
Yeah, that's gets a little weird.
So, um, but you were working around a bunch of dudes at that point. Were there any other girls that you got to work with, or no? It was just you. You were
Yeah,
the only. Okay.
No, there was a lady. Her name was Grace. She's since passed away from cancer, sadly.
Oh,
But
that
she
is
was
sad.
a, yeah, extremely sad. She was a phenomenal taper, and she was all pan and knife. So we were kind of opposites, but both had
Yeah.
our own strengths.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, R.I.P. Grace, man. And she was kind of maybe a little bit of a mentor for you.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
was
for
she was
sure.
probably excited to see you coming along.
Yeah, for sure. That was back when I smoked, and we'd always have our
Yeah.
smoke breaks
There
together.
you go.
And
There you go.
yeah,
And
and
she was
she'd
like,
always help
finally,
me
another
out.
girl. These guys are like all douchey. I don't want to hang out with the guys all the time. We got another girl to hang out with.
Yeah, for sure. You said it.
So Grace was sort of your mentor at A Tech. Now, did she acquire cancer while you were working with her? Did you like see her go through that downward spiral and everything?
Well, from ATEC, I went to Scott Builders, and in that time was when she went downhill.
Bummer.
But I
Did you?
went and saw her in the hospital and stuff,
Good.
and it was really sad. Like she looked like a completely different person, and I was just happy to be there with her in her last moments and
Very
just
cool.
be there.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Grace. Very cool. And you know, I just think it's cool, the whole women in the trades sort of thing. It's popular to bolster that. Christy's a big advocate of women in the trades. She does a lot of work for you women, and bringing awareness to the fact that this is a viable option, and a cool thing that you guys can do, and just as well as men and all that good stuff. So you went from ATEC to Scott Builders. That was 3 years. Did you have Tegan at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so at that point, a job came up for Scott Builders, and I was making like decent money with ATEC, but I figured I could always do better now that I needed to make more money to be there for my kid financially. And so I applied for the job for Scott Builders and got it. And I was super excited about that. That was a massive game changer shift in my life. So I went from there. And Scott Builders was kind of cool because they have a few different departments. So I worked on the steel crew, the cribbing crew, but eventually I went into the plant. There's a polyethylene plant just
Okay.
outside of Red Deer. And so we were renovating that plant for 3 years and got a lot of drywall experience with hanging. And well, we did steel stud and then hanging. I did the taping and then I painted.
Okay.
And then all the finishings as well. It was basically
Yeah.
right from reno to door handles. Well, what happened was I was on a Scott Builders job site. I think it was in Blackfalds, and the site soup came up to me and he was like, "You're a really good taper. Scott Builders is looking for someone. Did you want
Okay.
to apply?" And then they brought a couple people from their recruiting team came and saw my work and then
Whoa, whoa,
hired me
whoa,
on.
whoa. A recruiting team.
Yeah.
Like these dudes headhunted you. They were like, this girl's good. We want to go like check her out. And so like scouts in the NFL, like
Yeah.
they're,
Yeah,
they're,
pretty much.
they're watching you work.
Yeah. It was
um,
so nerve-wracking. I was so
yeah,
nervous.
yeah. But they liked you. They thought you would be a nice fit over at Scott Builders. So you jumped ship at A Tech. Now at that point, maybe you could be like, what are you guys paying? And could you write your own ticket a little bit, or maybe make a little more money?
I think I was ready for transition in my life. Like after having Tegan, I needed to make sure that I was doing whatever I had to be financially stable. And I knew that I could get that with Scott Builders.
Okay. So what was the
It was just
difference? What was the difference in pay? Were you making hourly at both, or you were making a different payment schedule at Scott Builders?
No, I was making hourly at both. I don't even
At both.
remember today like what I was making at ATech, but
Okay.
I started out in mid 20s with Scott Builders,
Yeah.
which was good for me at that time.
Yeah. And did they have benefits there at Scott Builders?
Yes, they
Okay.
did, which was massive for me and
Yeah.
Tegan.
Yeah. So that was a
Yeah,
big incentivizer. So you made a decent rate, and you were making and you were getting benefits for the kiddo.
yeah, yeah, which
Kids
was a
change
must.
kids change things
Oh, for sure.
when
You
you're
can't really just wing it.
no, you can't. And no partner at this time. Like, are you single through all of this? Do you have a partner? Did it go bad? What's the story there?
When I was transitioning into Scott Builders, I was with a partner. He's still to this day one of my best friends. He's
Oh,
actually the
good.
owner of Bunker, who makes all my hats.
There you go. Shout out to
And
Bunker.
yeah, Bunker's amazing. Justin and Amber run it, and they
Okay.
support me a lot. And they still to this day take Tegan. Like, he's still an active father in her life, which speaks volumes for me.
But not active father, but not actual father.
Right.
So Scott Builders, how is your finishing chops at that point? You must be pretty proficient. Like, you can do all aspects of the trade. But Scott Builders, like, they're not running box tools or bazooka or any of the automatic tools or anything, or even semi-automatic tools. They're doing everything by hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Back when if we rewind a little bit back to when I was with ATech, the man who taught me everything I know, his name's Dwayne Girock, and he's a phenomenal finisher. Like, I might be biased, but probably the best I've ever seen. And
Okay.
so he ran the tools, and he would run the bazooka, and I'd wipe behind him, and then he would run the flushers, and I would clean up corner angles and bottoms and
Okay.
stuff like that. So that's how I got exposed into the automatic and semi-automatic tools. But
Okay.
he saw what I could do with my trowels, so he just kind of let me just keep going with that. Wherever there was needed to be trowel work was my
Yeah.
job.
You were never like, hey man, let me run the zoo today.
No, he was definitely the boss.
Yeah, sometimes those guys don't want to show you how to do it because they like doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. That was always the
Sorry.
journeyman where when I was coming up, they only wanted to show you a certain amount, because if you learn too much, then you'll be better than them, and then what good are they?
Yeah, exactly. I hadn't talked to Dwayne in quite some time, and then I sent him a video a couple days ago of me pulling a butt joint, and he called me and he's like, "Oh man," he's like, "you're making me soft." He's like, "I started crying when I watched that." He's like, "And I honestly think that you could smoke me today with your trowel." And that just, like, I don't know, it felt so good to hear that the man, the myth, the legend
Yeah,
could say that about me. I was like, wow, like, made me feel
giving you
proud of
props.
myself.
Did you say, hey man, if you need a job, let me come in for an interview?
No, but I did tell him what I had going on, and like, I've always been a hand taper, and now that I'm getting more into the semi-automatics with Can-Am in Colombia, I'm like, hey man, like, I've got all these tools, and it would be cool if we could, like, grow together with this. And he's down, so maybe in the future you guys will meet Dwayne Rock on my page.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We look forward to it. The tools, was it Can-Am first, or Columbia, or who sort of reached out to you? How did that work?
The very first company that ever found me was Tool Pro, and
Okay.
they hooked me up with some stilts, and I had never been on stilts. Well, okay, one time I put stilts on, Dwayne's like, "Okay, get on these things," and I'm like, "Hell
Yeah.
no!" Like those things are scary. And
Yeah.
so I stood in a closet and put them on, and I was so young then. I was like, "Not today, Satan." Got off
Yeah.
and didn't
Yeah.
go back on. And then Tool Pro hit me up, and they were like, "Hey, would you use a pair of stilts? We'd like to send you a pair." And I'm like, you have to grow. Like you can't just plateau with that and stay on scaffolding your
Yeah.
whole life. Like you got to challenge yourself.
Good for
So,
you. That is a tough thing to do. What about the stilts made you feel like using stilts was going to be more efficient than using scaffold?
well, just like, well, after quite a few years of running like a baker scaffold, you get pretty good with the ceiling shuffle.
Yeah.
But it's a lot on your body, like the up and the down and lifting the buckets and all that stuff. So I just felt
Hmm.
like I'd be a lot quicker if I could do all the bottoms and then all the tops.
Yeah. It's there's no comparison. And now you're walking stilts like a pro.
Yeah, I don't know, like I kind of was beating myself up a little bit because I did hesitate for so many years, but then once I had them, I was like, you're good. Like, just keep going. Like, you can grow with anything in life as long as you have a little determination and walls close nearby.
Yeah, a couple walls. Yeah, stay close to the walls. Don't get cocky is my attitude with the stilts. The dudes will put on stilts and then it's like, oh, these are pretty easy, and they get cocky and then bam.
Oh, yeah. And I find most importantly, clean up after yourself. That slippery mud on the floor
Oh
is a
yeah.
recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had a couple slips
Oh
and
yeah.
oh, your heart, like
Yeah.
it's scary. You're like, okay, calm down, you're fine, but it's scary. It's not something you want to mess with at all.
Now, have you fallen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, you don't need to. You don't need to. If you're careful, keep your area clean. You don't have to fall.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
exactly.
it
Yeah, you
hurts.
just take your time. And yeah, have you fallen?
Oh yeah. Another cup of coffee.
Yeah, you love the coffee, hey?
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
coffee.
Good. Nothing wrong with a shot of coffee. Oh, speaking of coffee, I was going to delve a little bit into this recovery foray. If you're interested in chatting about that a little bit, I mean, we don't
Yeah.
have to, but David talked about it. He's cool. Um, not everybody wants to talk about it, but yeah, coffee took on for me a whole new element when I got clean. It's like, and it
Yeah.
never went away. It's like it's always been there, like my old friend, But it's like, yeah, you take weed, weed and alcohol out of the equation. It's like, okay, what is there left? We got nicotine, we got sugar, we got coffee,
Yeah.
like. And if you drink black coffee, it's really not bad for you. But maybe why you've have a new relationship to coffee. I don't know. I'm speculating.
Yeah, so let's kind of go back a little bit. So last January, so yeah, so Tegan was born in 2012 and she was 3 when I started my last company. So 2015,
Mm-hmm.
I started Absolutely Drywall,
That was your
and I had,
company?
yeah.
Okay, we haven't quite gotten to where the transition between Scott Builders and that was Absolute, where you jumped over into Absolute.
Well, I had Absolute Drywall as just strictly evenings and weekend side work. So not only working for Scott Builders at that time, I also had my own company at the same time just to make that extra money to support my kid.
Sure. So you were like, you were hustling patches and shit. Like that's a good way
Yeah.
to make way to make money, but it's also a good way to segue into your own business because people start finding out about you.
Yeah, exactly. And then that kind of, I went from like repairs around fireplaces and doorways, little ceiling repairs. I went from that to doing garages and basements by myself, all by hand. And
Nice.
so I kept that company up until the beginning of this year is when Teek Interiors was born. I
Okay.
just felt like I wanted a new beginning, a new start, something fresh, something that I could grow and it not so much be for myself, but eventually, hopefully, for my children as well. So incorporating their names into the name and bringing them on site and teaching them
Neat.
the culture.
So being one question I would have about Absolute and even Scott Builders, when you're doing all of this work, you're younger, you have a lot of energy. That's great. We all did. Is that's got to be super challenging though, and time consuming. You got to miss that kiddo, like Tegan. You're missing her a lot when you're spending all of this time. Was that challenging to navigate doing all that work? Having and you're a single parent, I assume at that point, that's a lot. What did you do? What tactics, I guess, did you use to navigate through that?
It was a lot. Like being a parent, as parents know, that alone is a full-time job. Like they take a lot of your time and energy. So to
Yeah.
balance it, I would just bring her to work with me. Most of the
Okay.
time, I would pass it by the homeowners and most of the time they loved having her out there, just a little kid bebopping around. And then that's when I started getting Tegan to spot screws for me.
Shut the hell up. How old was she at that time?
She first picked up a knife for the first time ever when she was 3.
That's awesome. And so instead of just bebopping around the job site, as you say, grab a knife and like hit those like anything from the 3 foot level down.
Yeah, make yourself useful.
But it's kind of fun because now she's playing in the mud all of a sudden. That's kind of cool. So she was
Yeah, she loved
spotting.
it.
She loved it, and so she'd go around, just hit all those spots. Now, did you have to go behind her a little bit and clean up, or did she pick it up pretty quickly?
It was a little scary for a little bit there. Like when she's 3, obviously she's not like ripping around spot screws. She's just
No.
like flailing mud onto the walls. So
Yeah.
that wasn't ideal, but
Yeah.
eventually she started like using the little edge of her knife and just putting just a little bit on each little screw. And then she did kind of a half-ass job with the whole wiping situation, but I'd let
Yeah.
her do the first 2 coats and guarantee there was enough mud on those screws. So then for the final skim,
Yeah.
I would sand them and then just skim them.
All right. That is super cool. That's a cool story. I dig that. And it shows your wherewithal to persevere, in a challenging situation. It's like a shout out to the parents and the single moms out there that are making it happen, that type of thing. So sorry, back to your story before I interrupted between the Scott Builders and the Absolute. You were sort of maybe going in a direction of like when you got or decided to get sober or something like that.
Yeah, so that was the beginning of this year. That's when I rebranded my company and I was in a really dark place mentally. Like I had had my twins at that point. I was experiencing postpartum
Okay.
and mentally that's really extremely hard. And not just that, like just growing up and just having different things happen in my life, it just
Right.
kind of started to build. So even though I had my fresh start with Teak, I wasn't mentally there. And so I decided that like I had drank quite a bit in the years before this, but I found that over like the last year, it was absolutely getting unmanageable, out of control. And I was like, hey, Steph, you put in such hard work. Like, you've got your company going now. Who do you want to be today?
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when I decided to call and book in and then jump on an airplane, and I was left my family and I was off to Sage and Kamloops for 6-week treatment. And
Okay.
just I alcohol was a problem,
Yeah.
and it all stemmed from my mental health. If you're not
Yeah.
mentally there, you're using certain things to cope,
Yes.
and once it gets out of control, it's really hard to keep your life on track when you're not
Yeah.
mentally stable.
It's hard to keep your life on track, clean and sober. Like, life is hard,
Yeah.
and um there's like, what I've learned is substance abuse can be a symptom, you know, of all of these underlying things. You take like drugs and alcohol out of the equation, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I'm just left with like my shit. And so now I get to like start cleaning that up. And that's recovery. Like, that's, to me, what I've learned 19 years or whatever, a little bit,
Yeah,
but
good for you.
what a gift. What a gift. Yeah. And I had this, I was sitting in the drunk tank, and I was like, just done my first fresco harmony job. And I was like, I always had that imaginary line in the sand of like, oh, I'll stop when it gets to be, starts interfering with my life. Well, when you have to go back and finish the job the next day, and you're sitting in the drunk tank and your truck is rolled, like, it's hard to not be honest about, this is okay, this is starting to get in the way a little bit. And that's a challenge. That's a really hard decision to make. Really
Yeah, for
powerful.
sure.
Really
Yeah,
powerful.
like I remember standing in my kitchen and um I was getting carried away, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, do you have a problem? And then I'm like, no, no, you don't have a problem. Like, but do you have a problem? For sure, I had a problem. And like, one of the
Yeah.
hardest thing is not only admitting that you have a problem, but accepting it. Like, it's hard
Yeah.
to do
Yes.
that. And like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I talk about too a little bit just with friends, I have community here and stuff, but like that bridge, like everybody that's sober or clean that I know crosses that bridge their own way, but everybody crosses it, like,
yeah,
and everybody crosses it in their own way.
yeah,
Like, you got people that, normies, or people that aren't in recovery, and then you have people in recovery, and it's really a gift. It's not, there's nothing bad about it. um I attribute, and I mean, celebs talk about it and shit. I attribute, I mean, you hear Robert Downey Jr. like talk about his, I think he's got 17 or 18 years or whatever. Russell Brand. I mean, there's lots of people, and that, it doesn't discriminate, and
yeah,
it's okay. And like, yeah, I've been able to have balance in my life. I'm going through a separation, like a divorce, and like, it's okay. Like, we're going through it maturely, and we're going through it effectively, and we're aware of the impact that's having on our child. And we
yeah,
got to sit down and have a talk with him. He's not seeing mom and dad like scream at each other and freak out and talk badly about our partners behind their backs. And
yeah,
he's
exactly.
getting to grow because of our growth. And now all of a sudden, Tegan, like, she's watching everything that you do, and even the twins. Like, that's huge. That's like
Yeah,
such a big deal, you know?
yeah, for sure. Like, for me, recovery has given me, like, kind of opened my eyes to the power of choice. Today, I have the power of choice of choosing who I want to be, right? What I want to accomplish, like how I want to show up for myself, and how I want to show up as a role model for my children. Like, I wasn't being the best parent I could be. I wasn't present with my children. Like, yeah, I was still showing up to work for everything,
Yeah.
but in the parenting department, I wasn't there like I am today, and
Yeah.
that's through the power of choice. I choose to live in the moment with my children and stay present and just keep moving forward in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have support today, like, community and I mean, what are you doing now to ensure you stay clean and sober from day to day? What is your
Yeah, so well, it's suggested that for your first 90 days you do like a meeting a day, 90 and 90. And
Yep.
like being the person I am, like I feel like I'm pretty driven. I did 150 and 90.
Good.
So now that that's over with, I'm still attending at least 5 meetings a week just to
Okay.
kind of keep connected. And then I do have a sponsor, which she is amazing. Shout
I'll
out to
bet.
Amanda.
I'll
She
bet.
keeps me super accountable and she keeps me on a short leash, which I do need
Good.
in life. But she also sees me putting in the effort and changing my life. So she's definitely one of my biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
a part of a 12-step fellowship, so I'm just working the steps, and a lot of that has helped me to realize who I am. Like I felt like I didn't know who's Steph. Like I didn't want to just be mom. I wasn't getting fulfillment out of it. Like I didn't appreciate what I have. And today, after working through all of this, like I see who I am and I'm proud of who I am today. And I see the growth I've had in the last 2 months, especially. And I'm just gonna keep up the momentum with it.
It's cool, isn't it? It's like a superpower.
Yeah, it's life changing. Like if you're struggling, there is help out there. And with struggling, like comes isolation. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that just sometimes people need to hear that they're not alone because I did feel like I was alone for a long time and no one cared. And that's not a fact at all. You're just inside your own head, and sometimes that can be a dark place for a lot of people, but there
Yeah.
is light. You just have to see it. There's bright light in any situation. You can either look at life negatively or find the positive in any situation because there is. You just have to, it's all about perspective.
Yeah. I love it. And would you be open to if anyone was interested or any one of our listeners was interested or they're thinking about getting clean or have the idea or something, would you be interested or okay with them reaching out to you on social media if they wanted to message you? Would you be cool with that?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
also you could reach out and message me at the Drywall Podcast or Fresco Harmony or Nick Harmon, or email me at info@frescoharmony.com. If you're inclined and you're a little bit curious, or maybe you think you might have a problem or something like that, people that are in recovery are totally willing to whatever, listen or help you out. I mean, that's just throwing it out there.
Yeah, like sometimes people just want to feel heard and be understood, and I feel like it would be a good avenue to take to come and talk to us because you're not alone, period.
Love it. So Teek Interiors is like a rebirth of Steph Abbott and what you represent, your kids,
Yes.
how you're showing up not only in the trade but in your life.
Yes.
This all sort of culminated, and what a cool brand. Can you tell me a little bit about the tee and the feathers? You just like that? Did you come up with that brand?
Yeah, so I made the logo. Yeah, so I came up with the name first. Like, I feel like I'm a little bit creative, and then came up with
Yeah,
Teek, and I absolutely love it. And then
love it.
I use the T because it stands out. I use the crown because I kind of consider myself a boss bitch.
Okay.
And And then just the wheat on the sides kind of come from my farming roots. I grew up on a farm, so I just felt
Love
like it
it.
kind of just, it's all my life incorporated in one little symbol.
Beautiful. Now, have you gotten the Teek logo tattooed somewhere on your body yet? I noticed you have a lot of tattoos.
Yeah, I do have a
Boom.
few.
There. I don't have I have one and it's horrible, but I drew it in high school and so it stays there. It's on my back.
It's with you for life.
Yeah, it's a deadhead skull with a soccer ball in it. I'm not too proud to say, but whatever.
Nice. Do you play some soccer?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I love soccer. Yeah, if you listen to more episodes, we talk about soccer a little bit. I got to go to an English Premier League game with GWI over in Swindon. We got product over into Swindon, England, and I took my son over there and we got to go watch a English Premier League game, Liverpool versus Wolverhampton. Just like
Ooh.
awesome.
Yeah, I bet that atmosphere was unreal.
If my using was out of control, I wouldn't be able to do half the fucking shit that I do right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I do a lot of shit and it's like, there's no way. There's no way, including take a 7-year-old over to England on a 7-day trip. That shit wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, exactly. And just being present and living in the moment with that and just remembering is a blessing alone.
Yeah. If you check out my personal page, there's some shots of me and Sean like walking into the stadium and, and like just, 30,000 fans going crazy. Like it was pretty awesome, but cool. Okay. So we got the branding. Do you have any employees right now?
No, I don't. I'm a one-woman army. I did have like
So you're only a boss bitch to yourself.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
One day you'll be a boss bitch to somebody else.
Yeah, my children.
Yeah. They know you as boss bitch.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Ella and crew come out on the site too. I've been bringing them. Well, they came as babies in their car seats, but they weren't a lot of help. I'll tell you that for free. But now that they're getting a little bit bigger, they're starting to handle the knives in their hands and stuff, but they're still pretty young. They're only 2. So they're at that stage where they just love dipping the knife in the mud and just whacking it on the walls. And then I have to sand and coat it, so it's not a lot of fun right now, but eventually they'll be following my footsteps. And that's the nice thing about it, like they can do whatever they want to do in their lives. I'll support them through anything, but they will be able to at any time fall back on drywall taping, like which will always be there for them, whether it's just side work or if they want to take it on as a profession when they grow a little bit older. If you know what I mean, like people are
absolutely
always building.
Sean, my son hasn't messed with it. He knows kind of what I do, but I haven't like exposed him maybe as much as I should. I don't know. It just hasn't really. I was with my wife, so I had that support all the time. If I needed to go to the job or whatever, it was nice to have that support through those early years. Yet, having a partner, it's like also if you're gonna have kids, like, and you can wrangle a partner to help you, like that's definitely the way to do it because it's hard. It's hard on your own, like
Yeah, like I have the twins' dad, Derek. He's my partner, and he's absolutely phenomenal. Like he's the best dad I could ever ask for in the world. He shows up every day for those kids, and I'm so grateful for him. And then he'll also, like, if I'm working, he'll bring Tegan to come and scrape floors and vacuum for me, or just come and hang out with mom. And then if you've seen a few of my videos, they're like actually like being filmed. That's Derek behind the camera, and I'm so grateful for him for coming and supporting me. And He's always there for me. So it's like definitely a dream team situation with that. Like we get along really good,
Nice.
and I'm super thankful because he works week on, week off for CNRL with oil and gas. So
Okay.
when he's gone at work, I have the kids, and then when he comes home, I go to work, sorry. And then he's kind of behind the scenes, like keeping everything together. So extremely grateful for all his help. He's a great partner.
Nice. Shout out to Derek.
That lady needs to get her shit together.
She's just fucking loud. She's really nice. You know, I've talked to her a couple of times. I'm trying to be diplomatic because the building just got sold. So this is the new people. So, you know, I get a good deal.
Doesn't she know you're trying to build an empire?
I get a good deal on rent down here. But
yeah,
I'm not.
It's a cool little studio.
That there is a vault. That's the old bank vault.
Oh, cool.
That's like a vault door.
Oh, what? That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's like 500 square feet. And then this area is like a little lounge. And then I have a showroom where I show off like the colors and wall stuff and all of that.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to talk to you about that. So I live in a 1950s home. And my ceiling is terrifying. It's what nightmares are made of. It's just...
Let's see. Tilt it up. Let's see it.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's shit. That is shit.
It's shit.
Float that shit. Throw some color in a bucket. Float that shit. Skim it. You're done.
Yeah, I'm thinking that drywall like needs a new fresh start. So I was thinking about drywalling it, and then I want to put a border with a light built into it with the bead by Trimtex. And then I was thinking that it would be really cool and unique to do a fresco harmony ceiling. Like,
why would you hang the sheetrock though? Why wouldn't you just float over that with fresco?
You think so?
Fuck yeah. I've gone over some crazy shit. Let me show you something. Yeah, so a lot of times like I'll do like a sample to show people just what it covers. You know, that's one coat, you know. And then that's all three gone.
Whoa. Okay, cool.
You know, it's not perfect, but that ceiling, how big is that room you're in?
Oh man, it's only like maybe I'd say like 15 feet by 12 feet.
Okay, so I would do that ceiling in like an hour and a half.
Really?
You know? Base coat, and then you let that dry, come back with your second coat, tight, and then sealer. Done. I would have that ceiling done in 2 days. Like, you know, probably 6 hours all in, you know.
It'd be cool because I would prefer. I was a little bit nervous to break open this ceiling because with it being 1950s and like asbestos, like you never know, right? And so it'd be nice to not open it at all and just go over top. I was thinking like a nice brown to kind of match the floors and have like good contrast with the white walls.
Well, I'll send you a sample request form that you can fill out, and I'm happy to ship. I'll ship you some products, so you can just do it as a thank you for, and you get to test out the product too. Like whatever, you drape your living room. Now, if you wanted to do like a reveal bead or something specialty around the edge, you still could. Like, although that asbestos or whatever would go airborne if you routed out, you could use a saw, but I don't know how that would work, you know, but I mean, you could router out like a channel and then put reveal bead around your ceiling. And then you could put an LED light in that, you know?
Yeah.
You could do a crown. You could do a crown molding too.
Yeah, I could do that too, which I probably would.
But for simplicity's sake, 2 color packs, you would cover that ceiling, you know, and a quart of sealer, done. Like it'd be done.
I just add your product to just normal mud, and then do you add water to the mud?
Yeah, I'll thin it down. I run it a little thicker on the base coat and then thinner on the second coat. And it's just basically like skimming and creating purposeful flashing,
Oh.
so the base coat is kind of heavy and thick and you get like these lines. And
Yeah, I was
then
watching the boys
yeah, and
doing
then you
that
get
on their base coat, sorry.
it's just kind of heavier, and that's what covers your texture and introduces the color. So you're basically just retexturing your ceiling kind of smooth and with a little bit of like liney texture, like veins.
Yeah.
And you can do that with your regular trowel, or I mean, you're good with a trowel, so you could use a pool trowel, and that just helps to not cut in because a square trowel will cut in.
Oh, okay. Like
That's
the
why,
pool float.
yeah, that's why I use a pool trowel. But
Oh,
lately we've been using like the flexi. I just used a Naila like flexi trowel with a wide shank, and those work pretty good for putting it
oh,
on. And then your next coat is a skim coat. And again, the ceiling when you get done, it's not flat, it's like irregular, but it looks better than the shit you got up there now. You can't make that will
oh,
look worse. And so
oh,
then you do a tight skim and you leave the flashing and then you seal it. And
okay.
that's Fresco Harmony. That's what we
And
do.
what's the sealer? Is that also added to mud?
Yeah, no, that it's a clear acrylic. Like I would probably send you a quart just so you could do the whole thing, but like I'll send out like a sample, a little sample. This will do like 50 square feet, but it's like yogurt. It's like thick, gelatinous.
Oh, oh, weird. And do you like roll it on or what?
Trowel it, you trowel it on.
Really?
Yeah, scoop it out and
Shit.
yeah, there's videos of us sealing. Sean, when it's turning black, when the wall's turning black, you could see there's a difference between the mud and the sealer. Um, but this will compress. It compresses those layers of mud, kind of like wet sanding. So it kind of sands and seals at the same time. The edge of your knife is sort of compressing those layers. And so it
Oh.
compresses and then it has a little bit of a sheen and it looks beautiful when you're done. It looks like, yeah,
So the sealer makes the finished product pop?
kind of makes it pop just like stain on wood, you know?
Okay.
It like finishes it because mud by itself is pretty porous. It's got to be
Yeah.
sealed. I mean, that's
Yeah.
all paint is doing is sealing the wall. It
Yeah.
just has color. It just has pigment in it. So we're just doing that with an acrylic, and we're allowing the mud to retain its beauty because colored mud is beautiful. It's really gorgeous. Like it
Yeah, it's awesome.
looks like plaster. I mean, that job they're doing in Illinois is gorgeous. It's like, this
Love.
dark color. It's really pretty. I've gotten up more during this interview than ever. But this is Brawley's chocolate. That's the color they're doing
Oh.
on the job right now. So Chad sent me Chad's been doing it for about 4 years. He came down here and did a training. He sent me a custom color, Benjamin Moore, sorry, or Sherwin-Williams color. And I'll take that color number and I'll make a color pack. And then that mixes with one box of mud or bucket. And then it makes this color. So then he ordered 5 color packs. So it's $100 for a custom color, 150, maybe 200 with CSR. And then after that, you can order, Brawley's chocolate. You can order that color.
Did Sean name that?
Now I name them all. So
That's funny.
I told Chad that we were going to name it Brawley's chocolate. He thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, so Fresco Harmony is just a way to color joint compound consistently. And then
What year did you start that?
04.
Really? Holy shit, I'm so late to the scene.
No, I'm late. It's taken forever. The color packs have only been out maybe 10 years, 11 years, but I've been doing colored joint compound walls for 20 years. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if that's like a states thing, but you don't see a lot of that stuff in Alberta.
No,
Pretty
it's an
boring here.
no, it's a I think well, plaster too is kind of like it struggles a little bit because it's really challenging to do. It's expensive. It's finicky. Whereas joint compound's kind of easy to work with, right? It's nice to work with and it colors perfectly, especially ready mix. Like you can color a whole bucket. Yeah. So when you do your base coat on your ceiling there, you pick a color or the color chart and you just, mix up mix up your mud and go to town. And you're just using skills you already know how to use and you need a drill and a mixer.
Yeah.
You know?
I was talking to Cam about it. I was watching him just, he is so elegant with his
I
trowel.
know.
Like, it's amazing to see. And I messaged him, I was like, you make me want to do this. Like, after watching him, he's like a gazelle. Just,
Yeah, I like that. And we were talking about, so there is a company, Umbrella Drywall, outside of the GTA, and he hooked up with a whole job, and he was wondering how to do it or if he even could. And I was like, sure, you could probably do it. But then when we were in Illinois, we were thinking how much fun it was, and it'd be really cool to have a training like with this Umbrella Drywall company where we just invite a bunch of dudes to go up there, and I would go up there and we all hang out and do a freaking house, and you can come for 2 days or 3 days or whatever you want and do a training and meet all the dudes and dudettes or whoever. And we do a training and do the house. The builder gets the house done properly. The drywall contractor gets help and some aid in doing their first project, and they're off and running. And then we can train like a bunch of other people at the same time. Like, how cool would that be?
yeah, genius. Absolutely genius. You're learning a skill, you're networking, we're all growing
Yeah. Then we
together,
do the
all this
social,
community.
yeah, we do the social media just like we did in Illinois. We're all playing around, having fun, and it was fun. Like you would have had a
Oh,
ball. You would have had a ball
yeah.
down there hanging out. These guys are, they're idiots, like all drywallers. Like it's great.
I told Sean, I was like, next time you go on one of these excursions, I'm definitely coming. Like, you guys always look like you have so much fun.
We are, and then a lot of times Aaron's a ball with Columbia. He's fun to hang out with, but it's this cool conglomerate. We're all buds and we all do drywall, and it's a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
yeah, when we
that's what I
do,
love.
what's that?
Just how the whole drywall community is coming together and has been coming together, and
Yeah,
it's just all unity, and it's like we are just a little family. It's so
yeah,
cool to
it
see.
is. It is. I think it can be. I think we can turn up the volume on that too, and it can get better and better. And um, we can meet up and have these like meetups and learn something new. Obviously I'm promoting Fresco Harmony, but it's fun to do. People seem to like it.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
doing it, and it's a lot more fun to work with somebody else than by yourself.
Oh,
So
for sure.
that's kind of where I'm at with it. And drywall, we all share the common bond of drywall finishing. We all love the mud. So
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer, but we're working on
yeah.
it.
And you get to pass on your legacy, which is amazing.
Hopefully, yeah, yeah. But it's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work. 20 years messing with it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you're just teaching all your little students, and then we'll carry on your legacy for you.
there you go.
Help you
There you
grow.
go. Steph Abbott, and so you're with Teek Interiors. Do you have like a direction that you're heading in, or just keep doing what you're doing, man? Living your best life, doing drywall, crushing it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep up the momentum. I feel like I'm grabbing a gear, and I'm just
Yeah,
gonna keep it going. Like, I'm loving
good.
what's happening. I feel like a new person today. I'm more confident than ever, and I do feel like I'm growing every day, and I'm just embracing it, remembering to just stay present in the moment, and because
Yeah.
it goes so fast, right?
Yep.
Like before you know it, we're 5 years from this interview right now, looking back, and it's mind blowing. So I'm just gonna gracefully keep up the momentum.
Excellent. So cool. So cool. Thank you so much for your time. I also have a couple of fun questions that I ask. One is a pearl of wisdom, of course. And then I have a new question too, but what's your pearl of wisdom before that?
My pearl of wisdom would be set goals to avoid plateaus.
Love it. Did you think about that?
I was listening to your pearl of wisdoms when I was sanding the other day, and it popped right into. I was like, Stephanie, that is gold. Go write it down.
That is gold. It's a pearl. It's a pearl.
Yeah, it's a pearl. It's a pearl. There you go. Sorry.
Set goals to avoid plateaus. And as we know in drywall, we get stuck in our ways. So another fun question that I've been coming up with that the last person answered was, because I have this too, we get stuck in our ways doing our certain system, much like you with stilts or with the automatic tools. Can you think of a thing in the last 2 weeks that you shifted in your system for drywall finishing that you didn't think would be faster or better, but you changed and it is faster and better, and you surprised yourself because you were open-minded to that possibility? It's kind of a tough one.
In the last 2 weeks?
Or we could even like extend it to a month or 2 months recently, that where you changed, you were resistant towards something, but you tried it out and it works better.
Okay. I'm still super new to it because I have been a hand taper for so many years, but it would be using the corner flushers. Like, I am at no means
okay
a perfectionist right now with that. There is so much room for growth, but flushing angles is definitely faster than running them by hand. But
yeah,
I do think that even if you can run flushers, you should still be able to run a knife, because whether
of
it's
course
a door frame or whatever it is, where you're not going to get the proper finish with the flusher, you want to be able to fall back on your hand taping skills.
Okay. I think people too are under the misconception that like because somebody knows how to run the tools, they don't know how to run pans and knives, but it's like we all had to learn how to run butts and bands and corner bead and spot screws and all of this stuff by hand. Like, just because you learn how to run the flusher doesn't mean you lose all of the knowledge that you have for running angles, inside angles and stuff and picking out angles. It's like, now that knowledge is still there. You're just doing it faster.
Yeah, for sure. Much faster. And I'm definitely going to grow with it. I'm by no means perfect with it yet, but that's the beauty of drywall. Like, if you don't know how to run a trowel, pick up a trowel and learn it. If you don't know how to run flushers, put the effort in to learn and get better. You're not going to be perfect right away, but the more time and effort you put into it, you can be great at anything.
Absolutely. I love it. Steph Abbott, Teek Interiors, 33 years young, on the Drywall Podcast today. Thank you so much for your time. You're super inspiring. And I am looking forward to seeing what you do, with your company and your life in the future. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, bye. Special thanks to Steph Abbott for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today. I sincerely appreciate your time and your knowledge. Thank you very much. The Drywall Podcast can be listened to every Friday on your favorite platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can watch the entire podcast, believe it or not, or listen to it on YouTube And we're also on Podbean and Google Podcasts, just all over the place. I'm super excited about next month, November. Some cool things are happening. Shout out to Can-Am Tools for sponsoring the month of November. They're going to be offering some cool stuff, and we kick off the episodes in November with That Plastering Girl out of Auckland, New Zealand, and you guys do not want to miss this episode. It is very good. Also, shout out to CSR Building Supplies up in Toronto, Ontario, and also Barrie in Ontario, and online at csrbuilding.com. Those guys have been huge supporters of the Drywall Podcast and also Fresco Harmony, and we appreciate them for that. Thank you so much for tuning into the Drywall Podcast today. I appreciate it, and remember, keep drywalling.